Alright guys, we're trying something a little bit different today in terms of different angle. We're going to work together on this power head of a Strimmer. I've got you in a top-down view and I'd really just like to hear your thoughts as to how you like it. We're going to work our way through it. I'm going to tell you what I know, what I don't know, and what I've done. So far what I've done is I've taken it off the shaft, which is very simple. You take the two Allen heads off, take the screw out, and then you can just take the kill wires off. You can't get those mixed up, they're a set way around. And you just unscrew the linkage for the accelerator / throttle, and then the Strimmer shaft comes off. And then that allows me to work inside. It's raining outside today, it's my day off today, and I just thought I want to be somewhere comfortable. This is what I've done. Took some degreaser, cleaned the whole thing, air compressed it, and it's all good to go. I emptied the fuel out, the fuel smelled good. It was nice and clean, looked all fine, so we will not worry too much about that. But as I said, we know it turns over. The first thing I like to do with any two-stroke is just get that muffler off. That's those off. Then that one will have to come off. That one was a little bit loose. Give it a little jiggle. Yeah, they're eights. Okay. Put that to one side. Now, looking in there, you may just have to take my word for it because I doubt you can see it, but first glance, it looks all right there. Let me just get a light. I'll be able to see it clearer. I can see machine marks still on the piston, and there's good lubrication there as well. So I think that's absolutely fine. And we'll have a look at the exhaust port for carbon, and there is small amounts, but certainly nothing excessive. So I would suggest that it hasn't been used much, and it's just been used as a homeowner, or it's been used by a homeowner, and yeah, look, it's had some use, but it's certainly not worn out by any means. Have a quick look at the spark screen. Don't take these out if you don't have to. If you can see that they're clear through the screen, which I can see this one is, don't take them out because they don't stay in very well after. So in this style where you just kind of slip the ends off. I'll leave this loose because we've got to seal it off for our pressure and vacuum test anyway. Good, leave that on like that. We'll just have a quick look. Tank. Oh, actually, that's one thing I didn't check is the fuel filter. There we go. So if I put that on there, we won't lose it. Fine screwdriver. So a bit of a breathe through it. Yeah, that's clear. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And it's clean as well. I'll probably just give it a squirt with some fuel. Put that in there. Give it a squeeze. Back that way. We'll see if we can see any debris. Again, you won't see it that clearly if there is. Yeah, there's fine debris as you'd expect, but certainly nothing like concerning. It's certainly not blocked. Give it a good squirt out. I popped this off when I did the cleaning actually, so I know that this is now clean because I washed it down. That's there. Air filter is clean. Bit oily, but that's okay. I like a bit of oil on my air filters. Then we have choke, which doesn't even actuate. Oh, it does, it's very stiff. Ah, it was just stuck in place. Spark and condition of plug. Whoa, that's very black. That in itself will cause you running issues. Covered in carbon. You're gonna have to give that a clean, but it is a champion plug, CJ8Y. Bright blue spark too. That's actually really good. So we'll need to clean that. Let's put a bit of fuel in. We'll put it in through the intake. That way we'll oil the bottom end. Just the tiniest bit. Might need to go full throttle, but we'll see. Carbs on That's closed, which is fine. That's on, that's clear. Clutch is covered. I might have to hold it between my legs. There's a lot of compression in this. I can't get a good hold on it. Ah, let's just do that. Oh, it's about to start. Good. So we might as well loosen this one up first as we're connected here. Now it doesn't matter what two-stroke you're working on. If it's a two-stroke, it has a sealed crankcase and it must remain sealed. If you've got any air coming through, you're going to start to have issues. So I'm going to thread this one down into here if it's thin enough. That's a bit thicker. I might have to thin this one out for it to fit. What I'd like to do is to fit that in there. Let's have a look. I'm not really wanting to go in, but it might go in just enough. We'll just keep an eye on it. So let's put that one back on. Only snug, don't go crazy. Click. Click. Finish it off. Muffler. Take the other strip of rubber here. Put that between there and there. Hopefully it's going to fit. It's going to be tight. I might not. I might have to thin both of these out. We'll see. It's going to be a snug fit. You might get it all right. Tell me if you like this angle or if you prefer a different angle. Just be honest with me. That's all I want. Honesty. If you don't like it, I'd rather know. So that's good. We can always readjust those if we need to. And now we're going to pull a vacuum first. Like that. Actually, I'll tell you what, let's do pressure first. I know some people don't like doing pressure first, but I do, it's my preference. And hear it leaking, so we've got to find out where it's leaking. So currently, I can even see it, it's leaking, see this is an issue, it's leaking between the manifold and the gasket that's there. We can try and tighten it up, but you certainly don't want to over tighten it, so do it by hand. If the first time isn't enough, we can just snug it up just a little bit more. Actually, I think what it probably is that there is the issue, not this one. So that's the first thing we'll do. Can you see that bubbling? You probably can't. In fact, I might even be able to. Yeah, I can push against that. So let's see if it's this screw. Which I don't think it is. No, you can see it's not. It's not solving our issue. So what we'll do is pop it off. And we'll just tighten it's the intake manifold. It's this black piece of plastic really. You can see it bubbling between there and there. So we'll pop it off. We'll just see if those screws are tight enough. That can then tell us what we need to do after. We have two screws here. Let's just see if we can tighten those up first. Not really the issue. Hey! It is a bit loose actually. 1 second guys, I think the postman said, "Must, that's enough! Will it?" Now that should slide further down. Yeah, that's where we want it. Good. That's right in now. Try again. That's holding perfectly. Right, next one is vacuum. It's really important when you take a vacuum reading that you turn the crank at the same time, or once you've got that vacuum, you turn the crank. So we're going to go to 15 inches of mercury. If these fail, it's the oil seals. And they're holding just fine there. So we're now going to turn it over just slowly, don't go crazy. And it should return to 15, which is exactly what it does. So we know that the crank seals are good. It's now holding, and that is a really useful test, pressure and vacuum test. And you do that on every two-stroke. It doesn't matter if it's a motocross bike or it's your weed whacker or it's your Vespa. Anything with a two-stroke engine will have a sealed crankcase, and it must stay sealed. If it's not, you can have running issues. Too many people want to work on outdoor power equipment and they won't buy one of these. And this is the most important piece of equipment you're ever going to own if you're repairing two-stroke engines. So this is a Mighty Vac. I think it's the 8500 series. It comes with a whole bunch of adapters. But if you're not doing that test, you're going to ask for trouble. So in this case, all it was that little weep there between the manifold and the cylinder head. That comes out. These need to be about 9 Newton meters. All I'll do is just put that onto my T-handle, and then I can get a really good feel for how that torque is good. That's about 9. That's about 9 too. That's not coming off. Compression test. We need a compression tester. Let's just pull it over a few times. In fact, what we'll do, let's take everything off and I don't have to open the carb up. That's what we'll do. Off and off. That way I don't have to open up the, in this case, the barrel. It's not a butterfly, it's a barrel. It just makes my life that much easier. So that can stay on. I'm just going to connect it so it grounds out. I don't really want to put that through the coil. Alright, compression test. A typical reading for these sorts of engines is around about 150, which is good. It's a good reading. It's not excellent, but it's good. It's acceptable. It's what you'd expect. Anything less than about 120 and it's time to investigate. It's probably just the rings. This is going to be tricky to do it like this. I know it is. But I do also want to get it on camera. Okay, that's fine there. We are 150, 160, 170 PSI. That is a fantastic reading. That is higher than average for these sorts of engines. So as I said, it doesn't look, I guess what can we deduce from what we found so far? From the tests we've done so far, what do we know about this engine? We know that the internals of the engine are good. We know that it starts and runs. We know that it holds pressure and vacuum. We know that the piston rings are good, and we know that the skirt is in good condition too. So really, what that makes me think is the reason this wasn't running, and we know the fuel filter was good, and we know the fuel was good. So the reason we were having issues is probably carburetor related. So we'll dig into that now. Oh, actually, sorry, we'll do the coil test first. I'll talk you through coil resistance readings, and then we'll move on. These both go to the coil, so it doesn't matter which one we use. In fact, we can just go between them. That's what we should probably do. Otherwise, you won't get a reading at all. And it should be about 1 ohm of resistance, very little. 0.9, it's perfect. 1 ohm of resistance. That is a perfect reading for a primary winding. Nothing wrong with that. Secondary windings, we want to test one of these. And this should be around about 7,500 ohms of resistance. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see that. Somewhere in there. We're low on the secondary. This is 4,000 ohms of resistance. There is a possibility that that's where this should be. I don't have a manual for the specific machine. So what I'll do is note in mind that is a bit lower. As I said, 7.5, you can minus a couple thousand ohms of resistance and still be fine. I would suggest it's a bit low, but I've run coils like this and they haven't been problematic. So I'll just bear it in mind. Certainly not going to change anything just yet. We've got good spark, we know it runs, but if we find that when the coil gets hot, it starts to die, or we have hot start issues or anything like that, we can then deduce that it could be, not always, but it could be coil related. So we're a few thousand ohms of resistance lower than what I would like, honestly, but there is quite the possibility that that should actually be 4K ohms. So that's okay, good to know, good to test. Gives us a bit more of an idea as to where we are. So we've done everything that I like to do apart from the carb. Judging by what I've seen so far, I would suggest that the carb is probably not too bad. I think the most time consuming part of this whole process is going to be making that gasket. It's falling apart. It really is junk. And as soon as we put anything on there, there's a very good chance that it could leak. So we're going to remake one. It's not going to be an issue. We'll go through the process. What I'll do, I'm just going to get that on a wire wheel. I'm not going to move you, but I'm just going to remove that because it's going to be in the way. Hold tight. It is possible that sometimes if you can take that gasket off, even though it's damaged, you can then use that to make a template. I'll show you a different way of doing it in this case because I couldn't save it. So what do we have? Well, firstly, I can see that the low screw is covered, so that hasn't been touched from the factory. Where are we with high screws? Typically you want about 1.5 turns out on a high. Looking at that, actually, that looks like it's a lot more out than it should be. Let's have a look where we are. Half, 1, half. That's where we should be. 2.5, 3.5, 4, half, 5, half. 5.5 turns out on high. That is very, very high. If I noticed that right at the beginning, I would suggest that we had an air leak with the way that was tuned. I find it very unlikely that that's where it should be, but maybe it is. Some carb, I've had that once in the past. Some carbs, they are just crazy. This is a dependent carb, so it does mean that all the fuel will flow through the high-speed screw before it gets to the low-speed screw. Could be why. I think it's more likely that they were having hard start issues and they compensated using the high-speed screw rather than the low-speed. Now, this might be hard, but it needs to come out. There we go, we got it out. You get this out and you're going to expose your low-speed screw. This is the one that is the one that you want for when you start an engine. If you're having starting issues, it's not revving properly. This is the one you want, and I like to have them so that they're flush with the start of the threads. You're not going to be able to see this, but I'm going to explain it to you. So I think that that is actually a bit low at the moment. I think the needle is sitting too low. It's not really giving it enough fuel. That could literally be a case of all it needed was a little adjustment on the low speed side. I think the high speed has been used to compensate. So yes, but anyway, let's take it apart. Let's see what we find. Primer bulb looks good. There's no cracks in it. It's nice and supple. All right, that is your fuel pump side. Your metering side's actually under here. Under here, there's going to be a needle. There's a screen. The screen actually looks clean. We can pop that screen out. This actually doesn't need to be put through the ultrasonic cleaner. It looks really clean. That's been put together correctly. I'm not even going to take that diaphragm off. Or that gasket off. Spotlessly clean. That feels like a new diaphragm to me. I feel like at some point this has been replaced. There's literally no wear on the end of the nipple as well, so yeah. There is wear on this needle. So that shows that has been used a while because it's got some wear on the needle. Really, you need a hand lens to look at it properly. I think it's going to be okay. Spring's fine, lever's fine. Pivot pin is fine. There's no dirt or oil. Sometimes you can get dry oil on here and that can affect the movement of the lever. That's fine as well. That's holding just fine. Nothing wrong with that at all either. That's a good sign. Put that down there. Pressure should hold. It does. You should pump this and it should go down, which it does. and you put that one onto here, which is there. And if I pump this, this should go up, which it does. And if I pump that on a pressure, it should hold too, which it is. That's good. Let's see if we've got that spare gasket. We've got two chances. We've got one pot and another pot. The contra pot is all my brand new parts. And the plastic Tupperware container has diaphragms that I've soaked and gaskets and diaphragms in a bag. And I'll see if I've got the right one. These are all old. However, they are ones that are still in good condition, so they can be reused. I'd never throw these away. John, if you're watching this, John and Luke, John had a whole pack of old stuff. And I was like, oh gosh, I'd love that. I save absolutely everything because you never know when you need it. And you can see why. You can just take out all these old parts. These are all old, but they're all absolutely fine to reuse. So we haven't got one in there. Okay. No. Not there. Not there. Nope. No. Tillotson HU, that's for the O2O. No. Nope. 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 No. No, I was just looking at it. No, none of that. I think that's where it is. There's a little box. Yeah. This looks like it. There we go. All my spare. Yeah, look, John, don't even throw the old primers away. A little purge bulb. I don't know if it's working anyway. Or old fuel filters. I reuse old fuel filters too. Clean them up. What have we got? I don't think we've got the right one in here, but normally they do give you the gasket, but they haven't seemed to. Oh, look there. Look at that. Ha! We're going to make one out of gasket material by copying this. You can learn something, and I get to keep this gasket for future. There and there. The inner hole done. Here we go, factory looking gasket, hey? And we're aligned everywhere. Replacement fuel lines next. It's called press fluid. You can get it from Still. Let's do that. Put that in there. See how easy that goes in now? We're going to pull that through and put the fuel filter on. Good. Okay, that can go in. Finish it off with my T-handle. I love using T-handles to do the final tweaking. I just feel that I get really good feedback from whatever I'm tightening up. Yeah, all right, a quick run through of what I've done. It's been a little while. I've actually given this, you can see how shiny it is. I actually gave that a roughen up, and then I gave it a clear coat primer, followed by a high gloss 100% lacquer. And you can see it just gives it a really nice sheen. It just brings that plastic back. Everything's been put together. I have cleaned out that little area completely. I can now adjust it. That's where I like it set. I think we're 1.5 out on the high. We have new fuel lines, fuel filter's been cleaned, pressure vacuum test has passed, compression test has got excellent compression. Primary and secondary windings, primary is good, secondary is a little bit low, might be standard for this model. I wouldn't be surprised if that was absolutely fine, just something I'm going to bear in mind. Spark plug has been cleaned. I've taken out the flex shaft inside here, it's had a good clean and grease. I've put new line in the end of the strimmer head, and I think we're all ready. Oh, I adjusted the throttle position. This had too much slack in it. There should be a small amount so that you can fully unscrew the idle screw and it can fully close, or the barrel in this case can fully close. But I don't want too much slop that there's a whole heap before the trigger. A couple of a millimetre or so, that's what I've got in here. That's how much I get before, that's what I get there. That's perfect. So that's stop, that's run. We will see how we go. Let's go start it up, and I'll give it a tune. I'll talk you through what I'm doing and go from there. This is a dependent carby. You always have to tune the high-speed screw first. So obviously, if we can't get it to start, then we'll have to tune the low speed as well. But let's go outside. I'll talk you through how to do it. So what we'll do, I'm going to give it a few pumps of the purge. We're going to fill up that purge bulb. I'm even using the fuel that they gave me, or that guy had already in here. Gosh, with the fuel prices now, I'm not going to not. All right, that's fine, we're good. So, choke on. It doesn't look like there's a throttle lock here, so we're just going to give it a full throttle. Primer, that's on. Let's go. And if it doesn't start after 10, 12 pulls, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just going to open the low speed screw. Second time. So choke off. Okay, we're going to just bring the idle up a bit. The thing with tuning is don't keep pulling the rope and trying the same thing over and over again. If it doesn't work for a reason. This needs more idle. I actually suggest we've got a bit too much on the high speed screw too. So I'm going to screw that in a smidgen. In there a little bit. Try that again. More idle. Okay, I think we're getting a bit too much fuel. So we're going to go bring that in, because the idle shouldn't have to be up that much. Like the clutch bearing. Might go back and clean that up. You can hear it loading up. Too rich on the low. Clean it out a bit. Otherwise it'll die. That's it. Now with the idle. Again, just notice I always pull out these pull cords before you stop them. It just protects the recoil. So a couple of things. Way too rich on the high. So even at 1.5 turns out on the high, it's way too rich. This was 5 turns out on the high. So I had to make a bit of an adjustment on the high speed, on the low speed screw beforehand. It was a bit too rich. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the engine up now, and we're going to do a quick tune. It's going to be to the point where I find where it no longer 4 strokes on the high. I'm then going to reach it out to it just starts to 4 stroke. That's where I want it to start with, and then I'll turn it off and I'll talk you through the next stage.
how that's now affected the idle. Now, if we had adjusted the idle first, we're going to be chasing our tail, back, forth, back, forth. You adjust the high speed screw, you adjust the low speed screw, you warm it up properly, or you get it under good load, and then you can do the final adjustment. So now we need to finish with the high speed screw. What I'm going to do is find out where the point where it runs the fastest, and then what we're going to do is lower the idle speed screw to close that barrel. That's going to then give us our point at which we can then find our rich drop off point. We're going to go to where it starts to rumble and starts to run rough, and then we're going to check for off idle acceleration. You ready? Oh. Find it where it runs the fastest. About there. We need to lower the idle. About there. And now reaching up. That's how you tune it. Now we need to tune it under load. Still too much fuel on load. So there we go. This whole time I've had this face mask down, but I've had the earmuffs off. I should have had them on because this was bloody loud. But there you go. You heard how it sounded. You heard when it was 4-stroking out of load and then it was 2-stroking under load. That's really what you want. That's important. That's like the most important part of tuning a 2-stroke, really. The idle and the low speed screw, that's just more convenient. You're not going to burn an engine up if it's a bit lean on there. It'll probably just die on you. That's a real good sign of a good tune. Straight to wide open throttle, no fog, no burble. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed it. Catch ya.